Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 3 of the Extra Time FC podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Owen. How you doing?
Good, you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And so today, in this episode, we'll be going through PSG's recent form. We'll be talking about the recent transfer of Dro Fernandez to PSG, as well as looking ahead as to with regards to the recent PSG facing Monaco in the round of 32 for the Champions League. And fingers crossed, knock on wood, who PSG will be facing in a hypothetical round of 16 game. Let's get
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, either Barcelona or Chelsea. I'm expecting Monaco not to be an easy game because away, safe to say we don't have a great record there. I mean, we lost 1-0 away. Our form hasn't been great. If we do go through Barcelona or Chelsea, I think I'd rather face Barcelona. Given the recent years, we haven't lost to them, I think, since 2017, which that was a robbery. So if we really want to count it, it's been 11 years since we technically fairly lost to them. Their defense is super poor. Obviously, their midfield and their attack is good, and their goalkeeper is good, but their back line, it's just shaky. And adding Joao Cancelo to that I mean, we remember how Joao Cancelo was last time in that second leg at the Montjuic, but Koundé's been horrible. I think Kubarsi, do we even got to say much about Kubarsi?
Yeah.
We really don't. Eric Garcia, I gotta give props where it is to Eric Garcia. I think Eric Garcia is one of Barca's most underrated players. But when it comes to who I would rather face, give me Barcelona.
So you, as in K, do you want Barcelona because you think they're the easier team, or because of
I'd rather, if you had to tell me who we'd have a better chance of going to, I'd rather play Barcelona. One, the second leg is either at the Stamford Bridge or the Camp Nou. Half the Camp Nou is closed down because of renovation. Half of it's flooding. Um, Stamford Bridge atmosphere is better. Barca are unbeaten at the Camp Nou this season, but if you look at the competition they've played nobody good. They haven't played Atletico Madrid. They haven't played Real Madrid.
No, I think they have played Atleti. I think they have played them. Pretty sure.
I could be
It was one
wrong,
of their earlier games.
but they were in the Montjuic. I don't know if I pronounced that stadium name right.
Montjuic, yeah.
They were in that stadium early in the season. But if you look at the competition Barca have played, even Atletico Madrid, even Real Madrid haven't been good. Like La Liga in general, which there's nothing Barca could do about that. You got to face who you got to face. But the league has not been that good this season. But when it comes to who I think if you look at the matchups, and if you go off the result where we played Chelsea last time, I think it'd be closer. But I think I'd rather play Barcelona. So not only the fact that I'd like to see that tie, knocking out Barcelona would be sweet. I think we beat Barcelona or Chelsea, but I honestly give us a better chance to beat Barca. Solely the fact that they rely on Lamine Yamal a lot, and Nuno Mendes has him in his pocket day in, day out.
All right, interesting. I mean, I'm gonna be the contrarian. I wouldn't mind Barca, but I'm sort of done now with Barca. Like, I feel like at this point, any things that we've done, the agendas and whatnot, is over. You know, we won the Ballon d'Or over them. We won the Champions League. They then said, "Oh, give me PSG this, PSG that." We said, "No problem." We didn't duck the fade. First and foremost, we didn't even know where the game was going to be played. We were told it was going to be at the Spotify Camp Nou. Then it was at the Montjuic. Then there were even rumblings that it was going to be at their little Johan Cruyff Stadium. Whatever. We said, we'll be there. We were there. We turned up with our youth league team, right? Still went and absolutely smacked them. So at this point for me, like, these guys, they're lions with no fangs. Okay, they were great in the past and whatnot, but like I don't really care. And I also just think that they would be a lot easier to go and beat. For me, give me Chelsea. Give me flipping Chelsea, because oh my goodness, that club, even though the Club Cup, it's Fugazi, people don't really care about it anymore. I don't care. We need to get our get back for that. Give me flipping Chelsea, and especially the second leg at the Bridge. Give me that tie. Give me that tie. These guys think they're too because the thing is, we give them a bunch of gas. I think Chelsea are fine, and I would probably say that I think Chelsea are better than Barcelona, but I want Chelsea for the narratives to get our revenge for the Club World Cup in the summer.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Getting revenge is nice, and honestly, I even if we played Chelsea or Barcelona, I'd give us, I think we beat both of them. And you look at the tie, I think it was back in 15-16 when David Luiz scored that late winner. I mean, it was like 10, but I remember that being a sweet moment. But yeah, beating Chelsea would be good. They have a lot of injuries right now, and you look at their squad, some of the players they got starting. Pedro Neto, Garnacho, Subject 49. Um, the center backs aren't great. Their fullbacks are good. Reece James, Cucurella, Sanchez has been good this season. Their midfield is quality. But just look at their attack. Joao Pedro's good. Liam Delap. I don't even know why he's on the team. He's nothing but a waste of space on the pitch. So I guess if you look at it that way, but for me, it's more the defensive to attack matchups, how I look at it. Because I think Chelsea's defense is a lot better than Barcelona's. Even though, if you look at the individual players, the fullbacks for Chelsea clear Barca's fullbacks. I think Barca's fullbacks are extremely overrated. Koundé's been awful this season. I've heard a lot of people say Balde's on fraud watch. He's a speed merchant, which I haven't watched enough of Balde to really give my full opinion on that. Kubarsi has to be one of the most overrated center backs in the world. Eric Garcia is a player I can really appreciate. If Eric Garcia came to PSG, I'd love that transfer. I actually think Eric Garcia is a quality player, so there's nothing bad I can say about him. Araujo, I don't really think I need to say too much. Christensen, he hasn't played since the Stone Age. So I think Barca just have so many problems at the back, and we have arguably the best front three in the world. Versus Chelsea, Cucurella, one of the best left backs in the world. Reece James, one of the best right backs in the world. And I mean, their center backs are decent, but it's not like they're not far off from Barcelona's center backs. Barcelona do not have good defenders, so I wouldn't be worried about coming up against Barcelona's defense. Their midfield, Vitinha is better than Pedri. João Neves is better than De Jong. Fermi Lopez has been good. I got to give credit where it's due. Nuno Mendes, I mean, tell me what Lamine Yamal has done the past two matchups. Nothing. Rafinha's class, but I'm comfortable that Hakimi will be able to lock that down. Then you look at the striker position. Ferran Torres he's Darwin Núñez 2.0. Lewandowski, age is catching up to him. So Rashford's been good off the bench. I have to give credit where it's due. Danny almost picked up good recent form. But I just think if you look at the matchups and like the high line, especially the high line does it for me. That's what really does it. The way Chelsea sit back. I know we're one of the best teams in the world when it comes to breaking down low blocks. This season, we haven't been good breaking down low blocks. So I think Barcelona, especially our form this season, we'd match up better.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, if people keep going, obviously, this time of year, I don't know. I think people just overrate Barca. Like, I think don't get me wrong. I don't think they're bad, and I think like you could potentially argue that on recent form they've been better than PSG. But it's just like, with all due respect to Barca, you could say Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid, and it's not like they've been stellar this season either. Maybe one big game performance where Barca's go on and contending against the best and done well. They lost to a youth league PSG team, deservedly so at home, right? They got cooked and pummeled by Chelsea, and they, in the end scraped, getting into the top 8 of the Champions League, which, okay, they'll go and say, haha, PSG didn't get there, but PSG also had like one of the toughest Champions League rounds to go and get through, whereas Barcelona had a pretty easy one and still only barely got in there based on final match day and whatnot. Like, I just don't think they're all that good. Even like watching who is it that they played, Slavia Praha in their final game and whatnot,
that was their second to last game. They played Copenhagen in their final game.
I remember the Slavia Prague one is like they went net down initially, they came back up, and then they equalized right afterwards. Like, they're just so bad defensively that, yeah, I think if you're talking about sporting wise, I think Barcelona would be an easier matchup for PSG. But for me, it's just even the narratives. Like, I think PSG Barca is the biggest international footballing rivalry. I don't think there's a bigger one outside of there based on the history, the fans. Well, you disagree?
You could argue Bayern Real Madrid goes a long way.
Yeah, but is there any beef between Bayern and Real Madrid fans? Not really.
Bayern, Madrid City is a league fixture at this point.
Yeah, but even
But
then, there's no.
if you take the history from Bayern Madrid, I mean Real Madrid kind of owned Bayern, but I mean we own Barca, so. But Real Madrid, you look at those Champions League knockouts back when Ronaldo was playing; those were some crazy games. You look at the one 2 seasons ago, Hasulu scores that brace towards the end of the game. Like, if you go if you want to look at the size of clubs, Real Madrid's obviously bigger than Barcelona, obviously bigger than PSG. You could Bayern's obviously bigger than PSG. You could add a lot. I wouldn't disagree that Bayern is bigger than Barca. That you could put that legitimate case out there that Bayern is a bigger club than Barca in terms of like her history. Now, when it comes to who's more known, obviously Barca, but who's like the bigger clubs in terms of achievements? You could argue Bayern. I mean, they have more UCLs. Um, I don't know how many Bundesliga Bayern has. I know they've run that league for decades.
But even though that, like the fact that okay, maybe you can say that the combined weight of or bigness, if you want to go and use that term, of Bayern and Barca, of Real Madrid and Bayern is bigger than Barca and PSG combined. I don't think that's the only thing that makes the rivalry big. Like I think the fact is like bar this. I think that's it's just sporting. It's like for example, like City Pool. City Pool was just like it was just a sporting rivalry. There was no
Well,
animosity or there was like bad blood really between them. Whereas between Barca and PSG, there is legitimate bad blood between the fan bases. You could talk about the transfers. Messi. I mean, really only one sided, really, realistically speaking. And we'll get on to another recent one of somebody who's made the Barca to PSG pipeline. But as in between the fan bases, the fact that broadly speaking, it's been maybe less so recently, but broadly speaking, a pretty even rivalry. I mean, like going into the game back in October with that PSG win, I think PSG just like going into the game before, I think it was PSG had 4 wins, Barca had 4 wins, and it was like on 5 wins apiece and like a draw. So it's like a really even rivalry. Obviously now, we've taken the ahead, but like overall, it's really balanced. Even in terms of like goals scored and whatnot, it's all balanced. That's why I would go and say it's the biggest and greatest rivalry.
well, you're talking like outside of league games because Real Madrid Barca is obviously the
Yeah, obviously, the biggest
one.
international rivalry, between two international clubs. Like the only other one that you can go and argue is maybe Bayern, Bayern Real, and you can maybe go and say like Real Madrid City. But I think those ones, it's just because, like if you have Bayern City, for example, I think Real Madrid rather City, I think it's just mostly because they face each other so often relatively recently. But like, there's no bad blood between the two clubs or anything. I guess and it's not like there's not like you can go and say, oh, it's Pep against Real Madrid again, Pep former Barca, but like there's just not that animosity necessarily. Whereas like PSG and Barcelona, the fan bases really do not get along. I mean, seemingly I certainly Barca higher ups don't like PSG. I don't think the PSG higher ups really care all that much. And then obviously the fact that we've taken their best player, one of the most talented ever players, and then are taking some of the most
Yeah, I mean you're talking about Dembele, Neymar, Messi. I mean Dro. Who else? There's gotta be someone else.
Xavi Simmons. We're going back, but then so I think those aspects.
Yeah,
too. And then
you've looked at a lot of transfers. Yeah, and yeah, I mean I agree from the fan standpoint. PSG and Barca fans do not get along. That's one of like those big outside rivalries that feel like and you see that Barca, like UEFA recognized that and put Barcelona versus PSG this season. Everybody wanted that fixture because it was supposed to be the UCL final, according to Barca fans. Imagine FC. Um, but yeah.
But even if you just go and talk about it. Like, do you ever have do Real Madrid fans ever talk about Bayern in any capacity?
I can't remember the last time I heard a Real Madrid fan talk about Bayern, to be honest.
But you will have Barca fans constantly
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
yeah. They're all,
PSG.
they're constantly talking and
So
yapping.
there you go. And likewise, obviously, you also have to be fair. PSG fans also do talk about Barca.
100%.
So it goes to show that like if you can't go and say that a Real Madrid Bayern rivalry is bigger when the two clubs don't even really chat about each other unless it's like actually on game day or coming up to it. Whereas Barca and PSG fans, outside of whenever they actually meet each other, are talking and yapping about each other. Yeah, that's why I personally think that PSG Barca is a bigger rivalry than Real Madrid, Bayern, or even Real Madrid City.
So you think outside of like league fixtures, when it comes to like
Like
games like
in terms
that,
of domestic competitions, I think PSG Barca is the biggest international football rivalry, a club international football rivalry.
yeah, I don't really know much about like the South American clubs and stuff like that. So, but yeah, PSG and Barca, they're also really more well known in the South American clubs. So, yeah, and like you said, the signings, we got to get on that Dro Fernandez one. I'm a big fan of this. We don't really, Dro Fernandez can play Cam. We don't really have a number 10. We don't, Due can play there. I'm guessing Kang and Lee with his playmaking could play there. Dembele could probably play there. He could drop in those spaces. Vitinha, I don't really know.
I mean, I think
Mayulu,
it can.
Mayulu maybe, but in terms of a like main position Cam, Joe Fernandez is more of a center attacking mid. So I like the signing. Barca fans want to talk about he's not going to get playing time. There is no way Luis Enrique and Al Khalifi and Luis Campos look at a player from Barcelona and say we're going to sign this guy and waste his career, especially a young talent. Luis Enrique loves having young talent on his team, and John too. Um,
Mayulu,
Mayulu,
Warren.
he called up Renato Marin from Roma, the under not even Renato Marin wasn't even a Roma senior player. He was an academy. We let Tanas go. He signed Marin. So, Zaire Emery as well. Zaire Emery's still young. Brought up David Boley in the squad still. Like Luis Enrique believes and knows he can develop these young players. So there's no way he's just gonna sign Dro Fernandez, run his career off. I doubt he's gonna do that. Hansi Flick was talking about this is one of the biggest regrets of my career. No, it's not one of the biggest regrets in his career. You continue to give Danny almost minutes, um, and you keep a guy like Gavi on the team who his best days are behind him. Like you're giving players minutes who don't deserve it, and then a player who has a high ceiling, you're not giving him minutes for some reason. He's played like 6, 7, or 8 games in the season, and you talk about a big regret. You didn't give him the chance he wanted. You didn't give him the chance he deserved, and now you're mad he's leaving to a team who just come off winning the UCL. And Dro Fernandez said, "This team, they live in a nice place. They're going to pay me good money. That coach is going to give me playing time. I'm going to develop, and shit, I might win another UCL." That's what he looked at. That's what he saw versus Barcelona. Hansi Flick has me buried deep in the roster. Realistically, when it comes to the number 10 role, I'm behind Rafinha because Rafinha's played there. I'm behind Yamal because Yamal's played there. I'm behind Fermin. I'm behind Danny Olmo. Like, you're probably behind Gavi too because Gavi's played the number 10 a little bit in preseason. You're behind players who you don't deserve to be behind. And then he has no reason to not complain about that. And then you go to a team like PSG. PSG don't have a number 10. Now you could argue PSG don't play with a number 10. PSG don't play with a cam in there because they play a 4-3-3 with a DM. They play Vitinha dropping deep in that role. And Dembele, he'll play that false 9 role. So that is the question that comes into play. Where will Joe Fernandez play really?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think also, well, what some Barca fans have been trying to go and say is that he only came for the money and whatnot. Well, first and foremost, to dispel some myth, PSG weren't the only club that were interested in Dro Fernandez. There's a bunch of other Premier League clubs that were also interested in Dro Fernandez. And obviously, as we know, when the Premier League comes knocking around, that means they have, Premier League money to come and offer. And so I don't think money was necessarily the big and sole motivator with regards to that. And obviously, we don't know exactly what Dro Fernandez is on, but given especially PSG's new wage structure, he's probably going to be on similar amounts as to what like a Sinu Mayulu is or an Mbaye or those players who are on less than 2.5 million euros a year. So he's not on crazy, extravagant amounts of money. And I think ultimately, as you stated, is that Barcelona fans can get all, hot and bothered and get all angry and whatnot. But like Hansi Flick is like, okay, yeah, as you said, you didn't play him. And you could say, oh, there's people up with him. Well, okay. If he felt that at PSG he was going to have a better chance of actually going and playing routinely and whatnot, so be it. I think it's just honestly, I just think it's another coping mechanism because even now, obviously, well, he couldn't play in the Champions League because you can't until the next round. Now you can't register new players. But there were already talks. I've seen some Barca Twitter accounts trying to go and say that the PSG higher ups Nasser realized how bad of a player he was, and now he's all not all that good, and like they put him in the under 21s and whatnot. It's like it's all fake news. There's like literally nothing to go and say about it. I think it's just. I generally just think it's copium. I think it's them realizing that they cannot keep their talent and that they're PSG now, the club that they'll go and say that, is a small club that they're not rivals and whatnot, but is routinely and now consistently taking players from them and going the other way around. There's no, like the last player I think that went from PSG to Barca. I mean, unless there's something else, probably Ronaldinho. I don't think there's every other time it's always been, one-way traffic. So I think there is that aspect of copium. And obviously now they're trying to, change their tune and say that, oh, he's not even all that good, he's overrated, this, that, and the other. It's like, oh, okay. All I'm saying is, to the Barca fans is that, we want Pedri next. We want Pedri next. It's a matter of time. And then you know what? If Lamine Yamal, gets his act together and whatnot, we'll take Lamine Yamal as well. It's all a matter of time.
I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't give less of a shit if Lamine Yamal doesn't add it. I will pay Lamine Yamal's wages to come to PSG. Lamine Yamal, Kvaratskhelia, and Dembele. I love you. I love you with all my heart. But that front three, oh my goodness. And like you said, Barca fans calling him overrated. I don't really understand where this is coming from. Dro Fernandez did not get minutes. Do you really care about Dro Fernandez leaving? Do they? If Marc Bernal left, I could understand that. Marc Bernal is a player with my eyes, a high ceiling. I could see Marc Bernal genuinely becoming one of the best DMs in the world in a few years. I see that in him. But like Dro Fernandez, the guy's played 8 games. He's played less than 10 games. I genuinely think. I'm gonna fact check this for a second. So I can prove Barca fans.
I mean, Dro
Fernandez. Oh, I'm sorry. Dro Fernandez has played 5 games this season. 5 games. And you want him to stay there for what? For what? 5 games. We're probably, what would you say, like 2.5 parts away through the season? Or 3? Like 3/4 away from the season. Like, we're in February now. I mean, depending on how far Barca get in the UCL, their season ends. Let's say Barca don't get to the final. Their season ends, late May? Right? I mean, you're looking at 5 games. Realistically, you have the big games coming up now. Because Barca, they're going to hate to admit it because they don't like Real Madrid. Barca are 1 point ahead of Real Madrid. They're now in the Copa del Rey. I believe they're in the semis, so that's a big game. And they're now, soon upcoming, in the Champions League round of 16. Where's Dro Fernandez going to get playing time there? Versus PSG, Luis Enrique, clearly with the lineups he puts out, does not respect Liga with an ounce of his heart. So he's going to give Dro Fernandez minutes. Unfortunately for Dro, PSG are out of the Coupe de France. But let's say we go away to Monaco. Like, we went away to Brest last season. We were up 3-0. Dro Fernandez could get minutes in that second leg. Or we draw Barcelona and Dro Fernandez could pull a Dembele from 2 years ago, drop a man in the match at the Camp Nou. That would cause mayhem online, by the way. That would, oh my god. That
I think we would lose their minds.
I genuinely think like that would be one of like the greatest things I've seen with my own 2 eyes. If Dro Fernandez went there, got a goal, and like if he went there and just got man of the match or like affected the game highly, oh my god, that would be scenes.
Do you think he'd get booed if at the Camp Nou?
Oh, if he gets brought on, 100%, he's getting whistled.
Really?
100%. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt because if he went somewhere like,
as in, do you not think that would?
Let's say he went to let's say he went to Tottenham, right? Let's say he went to Tottenham, and or he just I'm trying to think. Say he went to like Atalanta, for example. Something Atalanta and Barca, they have nothing to do with each other. Like you said, PSG and Barcelona, not fans of each other. See, he went to Atalanta though, right? Gets subbed on. Barca fans are gonna be like, you know what? He's getting playing time. I appreciate it. Versus going to PSG, he's going for money. He's a rat. He's a snake, right? Now, I think Dembele's situation was a little more understandable. He celebrated on them in the first leg, so I guess that's what angered them. But I mean, I think if he comes on, he ain't getting cheered. That's for sure. He ain't getting cheered. Because if you look at the comments when he came to PSG, they were all spamming the Johan Cruyff. If part of you doesn't want to play for Barca, you're not welcome here or something. And then a bunch of money comments and rat comments. I don't think Barca fans dislike Dro. They dislike what career choice he made.
I think it's I think they just dislike the fact that he went to PSG. That's it.
That's what I'm saying.
If he gone to Chelsea, I think they probably wouldn't have cared all that much.
Yeah, if you went to some smaller team in the Champions League.
Not even that. Even if he even went to like a bigger, European established club. Obviously not Real Madrid. I think
if you went to Bayern, they wouldn't like him either.
No, I don't think they care. I think they'd just be disappointed. Oh, he's left. I think the fact that he's gone to PSG has made things a lot more serious and great, because I think it's just for Barca at least a run of losing to PSG. Losing the Champions League, losing players, Dembele, Neymar, Messi, Champions League, losing at home. Like it's just Barca just be catching L's recently against PSG. So
yeah, PSG are Barca's daddy, and they just secretly don't want to admit it. But yeah, I think this is a good move for Dro Fernandez's career. I don't think he'll regret it. I don't see Dro Fernandez staying his whole career at PSG. Honestly, I think he leaves before he's like 30, depending on how good he becomes. Obviously, he's 18, I believe.
Yeah,
he's 18. Yeah, so he's mainly an attacking midfielder. That's what he is. If you come to his minutes, right? He played during preseason. He played a total of 57 minutes in preseason, by the way. This season, 45. So when he played Sociedad, this is the 5 games he's played, by the way. When he played Sociedad, 45 minutes, 7.3 rating off FotMob. Olympiacos, 7.3 rating, got an assist. 59 minutes. Athletic Club, 26 minutes. Atletico Madrid, 17 minutes. And that's it. That's all he's played. I don't even think that's not even 200 minutes, is that? Or like 250? He's barely played. You barely gave him minutes, and you're mad he's leaving? He sees the future in PSG. He doesn't see it in Barcelona. I don't blame him. I don't.
I agree.
Yeah, but to talk about PSG's recent form, it's not like even in the wins. So you go back from like the Sporting game, 2-1 loss. Obviously some injuries in there. Honestly, I don't even know if there's injuries much. I don't even think I can blame this on injuries. Um, because if you take a look,
I mean, you had what
yeah,
Hakimi, who's at
Dembele,
least not
Doué,
there.
no, no Dro Neves, no Hakimi, but that's it. You had
Yeah.
the front three. Kvaratskhelia came off the bench, but like you look at the game. I mean, we dominated that game, but we were just not good in front of goal. Defensively, we're not good. I know you were crashing out on Zabarni. Um, you made like 10 videos on him. Um, I think that game is nothing but Chevalier's fault. You look at the first goal, he dives down for it. He drops it. It goes out for a corner. We get scored on. The second one. I mean, even the commentators are like, "What's going on with this guy?" He like shoots it. He like pats it straight to Luis Suarez, and then now it looks like Safonov is the number one. Enrique's realized this guy's buns.
I mean, yeah, I think it just became untenable to continue to defend him. Like, as in, obviously, I still, in some respects, do sort of feel bad for him in the sense that he came in very unfavorable and unfortunate circumstances, and that I don't think there's any PSG fan who actively wanted Donnarumma out, even though they understood why he left and why Luis Enrique wanted to go and do so. And that as a result of that, anytime he would have a slightly below par performance, all the spotlight would be on him. But at the same time, too, this is PSG. We've got standards. Like, you can't be buns, forever, and we can't just, accept it. So, listen, football, there's hierarchy. You have to fight for your spot. And if there is a keeper that's just better than you, plain and simply, he's there. Even though I probably still say that Chevalier's probably better with the ball at his feet. I just think that's the confidence that Safonov has is there. And I think being a keeper, a lot of that is purely based on, confidence. So, yeah, I think at least unless there's evidence pointing to the contrary, I think that Safonov is a starting keeper. So it'll be interesting to see what Luis Enrique decides to go with this Sunday against Marseille. If Safonov is still in goal, I think that's it once and for all. If Chevalier goes back, then I think it's sort of up in the air. And he's probably going to do what like Poch did in his first season, where he alternated between Donnarumma and Navas. But I think for the sake of PSG and for the sake of squad consistency and cohesion, I think he just needs to have a clear number one, whether that's Chevalier or Safonov.
Yeah, especially by the time this is all assuming we beat Monaco, of course. By the time the round of 16 comes around, you can't be jumping. You can't be rolling the dice on a goalkeeper. But I mean, yeah, I think Chevalier is better with his feet. I mean, that's the main reason we signed him, and due to the fact that he won Liga goalkeeper the season last year. But Chevalier, Safonov is the better shot stopper, in my opinion. And that's, you can be as good as you want on the feet, but like, I'm not comparing Safonov to Courtois. Courtois' miles clear, but you look at Courtois, every time I see him get the ball, just boots it to the halfway line. But guess what? He's the best shot stopper in the world right now, so nobody cares. Because he saves shots. That's what goalkeeping is all about. You don't hear Barca fans brag about Joao Garcia's passing. Oh my god, look at his passing. No, they're like, this guy. I saw a thing on Twitter the other day that Joao Garcia and Pau Cubarsi's house got burglarized. The top comment was, Joao Garcia lost nothing. He saved it all. Like, Barca fans appreciate this guy saving. At the end of the day, don't get me wrong, passing out the back is important. It is, right? Especially with the way PSG play. They played up more of a build-up play style. But if you can't save shots, especially in knockout type competitions, shot stopping, having a good goalkeeper, you can be the best team in the world, right? For me, Arsenal are the best team in the world right now. But if David Raya decides to have jelly fingers in the knockout competitions, they're going to lose. They're going to lose. Assuming Arsenal concede a shot on target, which seems like they never do. But yeah, I think this weekend for me determines it, because Marseille, we're in a title race now, and if we beat Marseille, we'd go 12 points clear. Obviously, Lens, assuming they win, we'd still be 2 points clear. In my opinion, it might be a stretch, but we can't lose the game the rest of the season in my eyes. Lens have been on good form, so and they don't play Marseille. We do play Lens later in the season. That's a must-win. But if Safonov is the start of the rest of the season, where does that leave Chevalier? Does he leave the club? Because he's too good. He is too good of a goalkeeper to be a backup, in my opinion.
I mean, that's the big question now. I think it'd be difficult for him to leave. I don't think he'd leave, but I think it would be honestly. I've not really thought about it too much. I'm more so in like the here and now. If I think what I can say for sure, I think if Safonov ends up being sort of the number one and starts most, I don't think that Chevalier would leave immediately. However, if the flip side happens, if by the end of it Chevalier is now sort of the starter, I think then Safonov probably leaves because I think he's also too good to be a secondary keeper. Because ultimately, PSG still did spend like 60 million on a keeper, which is a lot of money, and so
we're not going to get that money back for him either.
Yeah, so even just in terms of amortizing the payment and wanting to get at least something back for him, they're not going to be nearly as I guess willing to just go and let him go for basically anything. So I think there's going to be that, but I think we'll have to wait and see. And
I imagine we're going to make other business in the summer, sell some players. I don't know who we're going to sell. There's not a player I look at on the squad and I say, I want him gone. I want him out. I want to sell him. You're smiling. Who do you want out?
I mean, you already know who I want out.
Zabarny.
Yeah, I think like at least with Chevalier, you can go and say that you didn't necessarily. Yeah, it's hard because you sort of understand the context. With Zabarny, though, first and foremost, we were in him for Zabarny for a long time. Like, I'm not sure if you remember, but even remember prior to the Club World Cup starting, FIFA, gave like this fugazi little like transfer window to be able to sign players so that you could sign them for the Club World Cup. So that was when, for example,
that's what Real Madrid did with Macedonia.
Yeah. Macedonia. Was I think they signed him, but like he still played the Club World Cup with River Plate. But like that's when, that's why, for example, Real Madrid paid extra money to Liverpool to basically get Trent earlier on. It's when City signed Shirky and Tijani Reinders and all those players to be able to play them in the Club World Cup. So PSG initially, because I remember Zabarny was like vacationing in the US and there were sort of the rumors of the reason he's doing that is like so like if the deal goes through, he could just join the squad quickly. So we were on him since like the beginning of summer, and we only ended up signing him like literally like a couple days before when we went to go and play Spurs, basically. So we were on him for a very long time, and there's a lot of hype around him. That he's going to be the Marquinhos' successor. He's going to give him a couple times, and by the end of the season, the PSG's best starting center back pairing would be Zabarny and Pacho. Okay, fine. Obviously, things aren't made, instantaneously. And so you'd expect, a certain time of adaptation. The thing is, though, is that he's like regressed on every single portion. Like at the very least
I agree with you because I remember the first game he made. I made a post. I'm like, this guy might have to start over Marquinhos. That Barca performance, excellent. He was excellent in that Barca game. Now, to your point, that Sporting game, he got put in the right back position. He's not a right back. There's not much you can do there. He's a center back.
Okay, but the thing is, it's like the way that he defends, and even like Luis Enrique ultimately he puts his defenders everywhere. Pacho's gone and played at left back at times, and he's done all right. The thing is though, is that in those times there was even you can go say get Sporting fine. I'm not sure if you remember the game against Lorient. He was playing at right back, and he got cooked again. So I just don't think he's that good of a defender all out.
Yeah.
You can't be, he's basically just living off the embers of that Barca game. That's it. That one sliding tackle that he had for that Ferran Torres run is like basically saving his PSG career thus far. And that's just like the sporting aspect. I could then get onto, the whole thing of, Safonov and, the war and all that stuff and whatnot. And so listen,
we talked about that.
We talked about this, and obviously, I sort of, I don't want to be, cruel and mean. And, obviously, I understand it's a sensitive topic, being Ukrainian and everything going on in Ukraine and whatnot. But, as a PSG fan, being blunt, I'm like, Okay, that's cute and all. Keep those political opinions to yourself. And like when there's, even you remember the game against Flamengo and whatnot, like he was like one of him and Chevalier were the only ones who like didn't go and like rush, go and congratulate him. Like he's just like there's just a lot of like him going and like not being all of a sudden coming down with the flu or being sick and whatnot. Like all of these other things surrounding like the like extra non-sporting aspect of the club causing issues. And again, this is where I go and say it's not like if he'd been at the club before and Safanov came in, okay, fine. He came to the club full well knowing everything that Safanov was a Russian player, Russian, if I'm not mistaken, captain currently for the Russian national team at PSG and whatnot. And so he should have known that. And then still is going and talking about all these issues. And especially now that, PSG last year, we did everything we possibly could to get rid of all this, negative, Hollywood FC nonsense with Neymar's, with the Messi, with Mbappe, all that leaving, right? Not got all that sorted out. And the biggest, if you want to go and say, issue and whatnot that we faced was like when Dembele was benched or not called into the squad for against Arsenal.
The Arsenal game. Him and Luis.
But that was
Luis had that discussion. But then like a couple months later, when we beat Liverpool in the shootout, him and Luis Enrique are jumping exactly, up and down, hugging each other.
And even that, I would still go in. Like I'd argue that that's just sporting. Like they disagreed sporting wise, which is okay, fine. But then this whole thing of we don't need that. We don't need that. So for me, you
gotta leave at some. Look, I understand Zabarnyi's frustration in terms of like the political aspect because like I'm not going to go into the details about it, but at some point you got to realize Safanov is a football player. He was just born there. There's nothing Safanov can do about that. Like it's not Safanov's fault, Like I could understand if Safanov was like rubbing in his face or being annoying about it. From what I've heard reports that Zabarnyi is keeping it professional. I don't know in what world. Zabarnyi came into the club apparently before he signed, which I think this is the reason it took so long. He wanted Safanov out of the club. He wanted Safanov gone. He did not want Safanov to be a PSG player anymore. And PSG were having none of it.
Okay. I mean, if that's the case, then I mean, I kind of look even worse. Looks even worse for him. But like, Safanov doesn't really like post any propaganda or anything and whatnot. Like, as in, it's not to go and say, good. Like, as you said, yeah, he's just so happens to be Russian and whatnot. For me, it's just like the fact is like, okay, if he was doing all this, the politics and whatnot, but was delivering on the pitch, I could excuse it. It's like not only is he doing all this, causing PSG problems, behind closed doors and whatnot, but then also just footballing wise, he's not been good. So yeah, and then also like the fact that we spent 63 million euros for this geezer, like no. So
yeah.
I don't know, for the Newcastle game, it's just like, for me with the Newcastle game, obviously the performance was not good, and obviously it also subsequently meant that PSG, for lack of a better term, let's be honest, bottled top 8. The fact is PSG, even though like, I think the thing is with that game, before I go and talk about like specifically Newcastle, it's annoying because with the benefit of hindsight now, it's easy to go and say, oh, PSG bottled top 8. But at the time though, when the draws came out, if you told me that PSG would not finish in the top 8, I'd say like, yeah, it's possible. Like, I mean, we had difficult draws and whatnot. But I think the fact is that PSG took of their first 5 games, had 4 wins. We're looking strong, and started from match day 1 all the way to the second last match day. We're in the top 8, and it's at the very end that they crashed out. I think is concerning.
I will let you know this. Coming into match day 5, we were second. And you said when the draw got put out that you would not be mad if we finished outside the top 8. I may or may not have said that we were gonna win every single game in the group stage. I thought we were gonna get 24 out of 24 points. Yeah, I was confident we could win every game. Bayern was genuinely the only one I was nervous about. Barca, I knew we were gonna beat. Bayern was the only one that really concerned me. But
I mean, I thought that maybe like one of the even the sporting one, like we could maybe draw away there and whatnot. But I thought like I still thought we probably should have done enough to go and finish into in the top 8. But I think the fact that ultimately, I guess for me, it's more so just a recurring pattern now for PSG that we've never like ever since Luis Enrique has been at the club, we've never finished if you want like top division. Like we've never finished as best we could. First year we finished second in the when the groups like the group stages were still a thing, right? To
I mean,
Dortmund.
if you look at it, that helped us out because we got Sociedad in the round of 16 and we beat them 4-1. And
I mean,
Mbappe
I
was
mean,
cooking them left and right. Oh my goodness.
true. But even then, still like Dortmund, who did they face that year? I don't think they had a difficult draw then either. So I don't think it would have made much of a difference. But like going back, talking about, then obviously finished second in 23-24. Last year obviously finished 15th. This year finished 11th, and this year we finished with 1 point. We had one more extra point than we did last year. So as in we've done better, yes, but like whereas last year we started off really slow and we sort of picked it up towards the end. This year we started off really well and then sort of dialed off. I think that's the most
Yeah, I
annoying
don't.
thing.
Honestly, this could be a hot take. I think it's more of like a. It's like the players don't want it as bad. And I know that sounds corny. I sound like a coach after a loss. Like, oh, you guys wanted it less than them. But like, you look at it last season, we won everything. A lot of these players last season had a lot to prove. Vitinha had to prove that he is one of, if not the best midfielder in the world. Dembele had to prove that he's not a flop. Kvaratskhelia had to prove that leaving Napoli wasn't a mistake. Like there was a lot to prove. I'd say for PSG, Donnarumma had to prove that he was, a good goalkeeper. Like there was a lot to prove for PSG, but like I don't feel like there's as much like on the line this season. So like the mentality is like, we've won everything, but like obviously I'm not saying the players don't want to win, but it's like I don't think the players want to win as much as they did last season. Like I feel like if you watch the games this season and you watch the games last season, we don't look like we won it as much. Like the work rate on the pitch doesn't seem as there. Even like some of the chemistry seems off. I remember in the Newcastle game, Dembele plays the ball back to Vitinha, and then Vitinha plays it back to him. Dembele's like sprinting forward, trying to make a run, and there's a lot of like non-chemistry moments, or like, and it's not like we have a whole new team or anything. We've signed like technically one player to replace our starting lineup, and sure we've had injuries, we've rotated the squad a little bit, but like we just don't seem as, let's say, correlated and connected as we did last season.
I mean, I think there's that. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've had a lot of big, substantial injuries this year. But I think one of the other big things, and one of the things specifically relating back to that Newcastle game, as well as the Sporting one before, is that not only, yes, the players don't want it, but it also seems like Luis Enrique didn't mind having to play these extra games. I'm sure you must have gone and heard like what he was saying in the pre-match conferences and saying that like actually, especially after we got knocked out of the Coupe de France, the fact that we had then 2 less games, or I guess 4 less games and whatnot in the Coupe de France, means that there's less games for Luis Enrique to be able to rotate his squad and keep his players fit. And so it almost like, especially after I remember specifically at the Sporting game, he was saying like actually he's not sure if finishing in the top 8 is actually a good thing, and actually he wouldn't mind if we had to go and play in the round of 32 again, because it means we get more games, we get to build back up. Whereas if we finish in the top 8, we'd have to immediately go into having to go and play a Chelsea or one of the round of 16 game. And so I guess on that aspect, it kind of makes me. It's almost like the gimmick of like that's why I almost was pissed about the Newcastle game.
He's solely basing that statement off of last year's UCL win. If we got knocked out, let's say we got knocked out against Liverpool, he's not saying that same thing. It's solely the fact that we won. I love Luis Enrique, and I'm gonna start trying to call him a liar here. But if we don't win the UCL last season, he doesn't make that statement.
Well, obviously, but I think also I think the reason he said that statement specifically was because it was so close after we got knocked out of the Coupe de France. So it meant that we have the quarterfinals, two less games there, two less games for the or a less game for like we have less games to go and play. As in, I think PSG, everybody at PSG thought that we'd like at least make it to semifinals of the Coupe de France and whatnot. And the fact that you got knocked out so early on means that now you've got potentially three less games to go and play, which means three less games to go and rotate your squad. And so I think it's in respect to that now if you, on top of having those three less Coupe de France games over the course of the season, on top of then having two less games in the round of 32, it means you're now missing on 5 games, which is like sometimes as many games as some clubs get in a month, which is then starting to become pretty substantial. So I think that's why I said it. But I agree. I just don't like that type of mentality because it almost went into the game like. Because even when you look at like after the Newcastle game, like it seemed like the players were like, okay, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer that we didn't win, but it's like it's not that serious. It looked like it didn't really bother them, and that's sort of the thing where like I think the fact the hunger, it's not just I think the reason why the players aren't nearly as hungry is because the manager's almost saying like, oh, it's okay. So that's one thing that I don't like, and hopefully again, my biggest concern is that it's not something that we try to start turning it on, but we start turning it on too late. Like hopefully that's where I'm going and saying that the Monaco game specifically and these upcoming league games are going to be really important. Or PSG we get back into that mood of like last year, because even last year in December, January we were on a roll. We were on a like really good winning streak and whatnot. Whereas now we're sort of whimpering our way into the Champions League, and in the league. In fairness, we've been good in terms of results in the league. I don't think the performances have been crazy and whatnot. But I think we need to sort of build a head of steam. And so maybe it's just in respect to that Luis Enrique was sort of going and saying that, yeah, I actually wouldn't mind having to go and play those round of 32 games to get the team up to speed.
Yeah, I mean, at some point I agree because, like, Monaco, they're what, 10th in Liga? It should be an easy game, really. Like, we should win comfortably. If we don't, it's concerning. It's probably momentum that we can build on. Like you said, league results have been good. 6 wins in a row. Performances been shaky. Strasbourg. Well, we had less XG. Auxerre, 1-0. Good Barcola goal, but that's about it. Missing chances. Like, performances haven't been great. We need momentum badly.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for episode 3 of the Extra Time FC podcast. I'd be really curious to know, me and Owen would be curious to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that PSG is going to get out of our little slump here? What do you guys think of the Dro Fernandez move to PSG? And as well, with regards to the Champions League, not only for the PSG, but the other round of 32 games, how do you think they're going to go about? What matchups are you guys looking forward to seeing in the round of 16? And what do you make of the Champions League as a whole? But I think that's going to be it for us here today. And thank you guys very much for listening to this episode of the podcast.